Tell us about your background, country, and native language.
I'm an American citizen, but my family is Hispanic. My first language was English, and I speak Spanish as well.
Country? How did your family
Puerto
and friends
Rico.
reacted when you became Muslim?
Well, at first I was a little nervous, so I didn't tell them. At first I was a little nervous, so I didn't tell them. But eventually, my father he heard people calling me by my Muslim name, so then one day he confronted me. He's like, "That's your Muslim name, isn't it?" And I said, "Yeah, Dad, that's my Muslim name." So my family had a lot of misconceptions about Islam. They thought it was a religion of terrorists. They thought it was a religion, they thought what you see on the news, you know what I mean? So they weren't that open. But then as time progressed and they saw me staying away doing from bad things, then they thought that it could help me more. So eventually, like 3 months ago, my father actually bought me a prayer rug. So that's how much my family has changed from hating the religion to actually liking it. It depends on the friends though, because obviously my Muslim friends are happy that I became Muslim, but some of the other friends, my other friends, they weren't sure what to expect, you know what I mean? And a lot of them still aren't sure. They're like, "Oh, you became Muslim, because they don't know too much about it. If they were informed, if they see how I've changed, like, there's so many things. Because even under Islam, when I don't eat pork, you get in shape because pork is a very unhealthy animal to eat. So there's a lot of things, But some of them are pleased. Others they're not. But it's not for them that you become Muslim. It's for yourself. So that's the important thing. Regardless of whether I lose friends or gain friends, the important thing is to be a good Muslim.
Have you looked into other religions before embracing Islam?
Of course, I wasn't sure, before. Like, I've always, because she's born again Christian, but she knows a lot of people who have different backgrounds. I knew some people that were Hindu. I knew some people that were Buddhist, you know what I mean? So I was always curious about what people think of the afterlife, you know what I mean? What people think of the creation of the world. But Islam was the way for me.
Spiritual stages you have gone through before embracing Islam?
Wow. Well, I went through a rough patch, at one point. First, I grew up Christian. So then, but my friends, even though they grew up Christian too, they're like, "Oh, there is no God, there is no God." You know what I mean? So eventually I started doing bad things with my friends and stuff like that. And eventually I just hit this stage where I realized that there had to be something greater. Everybody goes through the rough patches, we go through our ups and downs. And when I took my Shahada, I felt like I was reborn again. So it was interesting. But I guess that was the best stage. But I'm still going through spiritual stages because I'm not a perfect Muslim. You know what I mean? I still have a lot of faults. So hopefully one day, better, slowly by slowly.
What really attracted you to Islam and why have you embraced it?
Well, okay. When I was getting in trouble, I got sent to a behavior modification. So and there was a lot of white American kids, and they didn't like me because I was Hispanic. So I was reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, and I'm seeing how white people are treating him, and how white people killed his parents, and it's like he's going through a spiritual crisis too. So eventually at the end, he was Muslim, but it was a different kind of Muslim. It wasn't like Muslim like we know it. So eventually, like, he goes to Mecca, and he's so shocked because he sees white people treating him like a brother, and in America that wouldn't have happened at that time. So the white people are treating him like a brother, black people are treating him like a brother, Arabs are treating him like a brother. So he felt this brotherhood and he embraced it. And I thought, I realized that seeing the racism, I'm like, under Islam, that wouldn't be so, and it shouldn't be so. You know what I mean? So after that, I slowly but surely, like when I went back to New York, I met Bengali kids, and then when I told them that I was interested in Islam, they were like, "Wow, you really are." So they started giving me books. They started, telling me, "Oh, but you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. No pork, no alcohol." So little by little, and then eventually I went to Masjid Medina in the Lower East Side, and I took my shot. I had no idea how to become Muslim.
Okay.
And like I was reading on it, like I was saying, "Oh, so Muslims are supposed to pray 5 times a day, do this, do that," but I had no idea. And some lady, she saw me reading that, Karen, and she's like, "Hey, did you take Shahada yet?" And I'm like, "Shahada? What's Shahada?" And she's like, oh, that's how you become Muslim. So like a week after that, I went to the masjid and I took Shahada. I didn't know what it was. So I went and I said to the brother, because it was after Friday prayers. So I'm like, I got there as everybody was leaving. So I said to a brother, he had a bag for collecting money for zakat. I'm like, excuse me, I would like to take Shahada. He's like, oh, you want to take Shahada? Come on. I'm like, okay, like I thought it was gonna be a long process,
There was a pool they will dip you in.
Yeah, I didn't know, man. So then when I went inside, it was hot. It was really hot because it's a very small masjid, so everybody was there, hundreds of people just left, so like the air was hot. So I went in and I was nervous. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen? Like, is it gonna be a long process? And they're like, how old are you? Oh, I'm 17. Oh, does your mom know that you're gonna become Muslim? Yeah, she knows. Does your mom approve of this? And I was like, well, so. And then they started speaking in Bengali because they weren't sure if they wanted to I'm not sure if it was Bengali, but they weren't sure to give me, because they didn't want my parents coming back and arguing, oh, why did you let my son do this? So then they're like, oh, we're not sure. And then they asked me more questions like, how did you want to become Muslim? So I told them my story, and then they're like, alhamdulillah. And then they said, okay, repeat after me, lift up your finger, repeat after me. So then they told me all the same, there's no God but God, and Muhammad is the messenger of God. So after that, they're like, oh, they told me a little bit, no pork, no drinking, no nothing like that, and you need to pray 5 times a day, So then it was so hot in there, so when I left, it was like wintertime. It was wintertime, so when I left, it was freezing. So I felt like cool, you know what I mean? Like I was a newborn baby. It was interesting.
Revelation coming to you. Tell us about your journey since accepting Islam.
Wow, it's been a journey, man. It's been a journey because, for example, a lot of people in my family, they drink, they eat pork, and this since I'm young, a lot of people my age, they do stuff that is not halal, you know what I mean? So I still have problems, like especially, like sometimes I curse. I do a lot of things that I shouldn't do, but this Ramadan I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying not to curse, but I still have a lot to work on, but hopefully that's why I just want to get married, so because it's difficult, like to see, I just want to get married and have kids, and that's it.
Are you a better person now than before you embraced Islam?
Before I was Muslim, I didn't respect my parents, you know what I mean? I arguing with my parents, cursing at my parents, doing what I wanted. Now, because like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said, respect your parents. Besides, that is one of the best things that you can do, to respect your parents, to have good relations, even if she's a non-Muslim. You know what I mean? Even if your parents are non-Muslim, you need to respect them. You know what I mean? And love them. So definitely, even my family sees it. That's why my father, he bought me a prayer rug, because before, he sees how Islam changed me from getting in trouble before to after accepting Islam to trying to live a good lifestyle. No, not yet, but hopefully, inshallah, I will be.
You're looking for a sister?
Yeah.
What kind of sister are you looking for?
Well, this is the thing, because this is the fault side of me. A lot of men, we look at looks only, you know what I mean? How the sister looks, like, oh, she's beautiful. But what's more important is also piety. You know what I mean? How religious she is, if she's a good person, obviously, and that's harder to find than a woman that looks good. So it's difficult, especially over here. I'm sure if I was in Egypt, it'll be easier to find a good wife, but over here, it's a little difficult.
Maybe we should ask Egyptians regarding that. Did anyone else in your family embrace Islam?
No, but I will say this. My mom, she came from fearing Islam to actually understanding it more. You know what I mean? And my father too. So that is something that I can really appreciate. However, my aunt, she still doesn't know, because she's Christian, and when I grew up with her, she said, oh, he's going to hell. So if she found out, she'd probably tell me that I'm going to hell.
What will be your final advice to our viewer?
Wow. I think the most difficult thing, especially during these times, is because there's so many people that have a misconception of Islam. There's so many people that say disrespectful things that make you want to sometimes fight. But I think the biggest strength sometimes is to overcome that rage and think calmly, you know, and lead the example. Convert other people by leading an example. That's the hardest to do. Sometimes it's easier to fight, you know, but the best thing you could do is be peaceful, lead an example, you know, because, like, for example, in the internet, you know, there's this, they say many bad things about Islam, because there's a discussion board, you know, and they were saying Islam this, Islam that, you know, and initially I felt like, oh man, these people, if they were there, if they were here, you know, but I thought that I would be confirming what they're thinking, you know what I mean? So the best thing to do is just to lead a peaceful lifestyle, you know, even though they're hostile to you, you have a right to defend yourself, but try and be peaceful first, you know.